Hi, this is Mike Ryan from Fastball USA. Check out our website, fastballusa.com and explosivehitting.com. This lesson today is in regards and focused on what we call eliminating slack in the left arm and also creating stretch. So what do we mean by this? Great hitters often in their stance have what we call slack in the left arm. And that left arm, you'll see in this case, in Hanley Ramirez's case, you'll see a flexed left arm, very similar to a 90-degree angle. But what starts to happen with that flex, after he gets to about the peak of his leg kick, you're going to see that as he moves forward, that left arm now becomes much more stretched. Stretched to a point where it's back and it loses that 90-degree angle and has very little bend in it, as opposed to when he started it had a significant amount of bend. So here he is in a stance, and you see a significant amount of bend in that arm, and then you see him going forward, and then all of a sudden you see that stretch. And that's what we refer to as taking the slack out of the arm. When you start to take the slack out and create this stretch, it starts to build a rubber band effect across the body. It also allows the hitter to cock the bottom wrist, which sends this back bat on an angle like that. So you're also going to notice as he rotates, he maintains that stretch. He doesn't lose it. And this may be the most important time not to lose that stretch. So if you're getting this too bent as you start to turn your hips, what happens is you start to lose power because the hands will start to leak forward and the wrist will start to uncock. So if we start to get too bent on this front arm, which is creating slack, we're going to lose power. But if we can create that stretch and maintain that stretch and keeping that wrist cocked, we've got a lot of power we're going to deliver into the baseball. So just to review, in your stance, so be it. It's great if you have some slack in the arm, but your goal is that as that front foot is coming down, is to create as much stretch in that arm as long as that back arm is bent and pulled in towards the body. As you start to rotate, maintain that stretch and maintain that flexion in that back arm. So we want a left arm that's not quite straight but stretched, and we want a back arm that is flexed, which is holding the hands back. And this is how we start to create a lot of tension and torque in the body. Even as Hanley starts to turn even more, you can still see that left arm has very little bend in it. It's a lot of stretch. He has taken the slack out. So when I watch a lot of hitters and they're hitting, and it's partially because they've got so much instruction on the importance of getting inside the ball and getting the hands inside the ball. The other thing is they've done so much tee work where the tee is close to them and they don't have to move much, so they never are really allowed to get any stretch in that arm. They simply have to take their hands inside the ball, which is what they're taught, but to do that you don't have to create any stretch. One of the reasons why our hitters are hitting the ball so hard is because they understand taking the slack out of the left arm. It creates stretch. And when you create that stretch and your wrists are cocked, there's also a ton of energy right here in the wrist area that is now being delivered or snapped into the ball at contact. So if you're not interested in hitting the ball any harder and you're happy with just making contact that's going to produce singles, I would suggest to you keep your slack in your arm. Keep it the entire time. But if you want to hit the ball harder and you want to hit it farther, as your front foot's coming down into rotation, create as much stretch in that left arm as possible and eliminate the slack. As long as that back arm is flexed and pulling those hands back and in towards the body, you're good, because then it's going to be a whip. Okay, it's going to be like dynamite going off right here, because you got so much stretch back in that arm, and then you can release all that energy back into the ball. If you have any questions, let me know. We have explosive hitting boot camps coming up in February, also coming up in March. And we also have our ongoing training that goes on at Fastball USA on a year-round basis. Check out our websites, fastballusa.com and explosivehitting.com.